Welcome to the Vigor Life Podcast, a source of inspiration, lessons, stories, skill sets, mindsets, and strategies to invigorate and expand all areas of your life. Let's go.
What's going on? Luca back here with the Vigor Life Podcast and a little bit of raspy voice and a stuffy nose. But check this out. So I'm just right back from about a week trip being out in Cali for Jen Fru's birthday, which was absolutely dope. Going to Warrior, our 3-day, 90-day, every 90 days we meet up with the Warrior Mastermind. So I was out in Laguna Beach for that, and then in Austin for our Pack Fitness Business Coaching. But today's, I would say, I want to bring something up that was a huge revelation for me, and I kind of want to say that, this last week, I think I finally got it, but I really struggle. So I want to start with a story where if anybody's ever been an athlete competitively, even through high school, right? If you ever played sports in high school, college, pro, definitely if in the pros, but just in general, like if you're very competitive in nature and you had something that was like your thing, right? So for me, basketball was my thing. I mean, it was my life for very long period of time, like pretty much almost 2 decades, I'd say, or at least 15 years of my life, to where I would train and practice. I mean, 4, 5, 6 hours a day or more. So you get into this, competitive spirit, and you have this purpose, right? The purpose is the sport is to win, right? To whether that is the championship. And when you look at that, it's kind of very simple, right? You got these, goals where you want to win a gold or a championship or, the title or whatever it may be in that sport that you're doing. And it's easy to break down, right? Every week you have games, or every couple months you have tournaments, depending on what sport it is, right? Or every 3 months you have fights. And then daily you practice, right? You practice so that you can show up at these events, at these games weekly, or these fights monthly, or these, challenges, whatever it may be, so that you can dominate those, be the best that you can be, and then take the championship, right? Everybody is striving for that. And there's this intrinsic fire to go get up every day. I mean, even if you lose a game, right? There's still this, I'll do it next time. We'll win the next one. Or, you're training for next season. There's always something, even when you get injured, as tough as that is for athletes, not just physically and mentally, you have this fire. I'm going to get back, right? I'm like the underdog. I'm going to rehab. I'm going to get back. I'm going to be better than ever. And there's a lot of, I would say, fire behind stuff like this. Like I said, especially, like I said, if you've done, if you've done sports and competed at a high level, you'll understand where I'm coming with this. But there's a point here for everyone, period, right? Once that was over, right? Once that's over, you kind of feel lost. And what I mean by that, for me, once my basketball career, or should I say, once I started making that decision, okay, I don't know if I want to continue this. I don't want to be good or, very good at anything in my life. I want to be the best at something, right? I want to be the best at something that's purposeful to me. And, this really weird transition started happening, but I was very, very kind of lost. What now? Because you have nothing to put this towards, right? You have nothing to, it's you don't have stuff to get up to and be like, hey, I got this daily practice that I'm going to get the best, be the best for basketball, so I can win the game next week, so I can win the championship, so that I can fulfill my dreams of, having this illustrious career or whatever it may be, right? And there is kind of when you lose that purpose, it becomes difficult. Now, many a times, I would say that can really spiral, right? Where you just start doing stuff, you just show up to work and just kind of do your thing and go home. And you show up at home and you kind of you're not you're living, but you're not really alive. And, for me, fitness was one of these things that actually kind of pulled me out of, giving me a purpose or something to work daily on. But here's the kicker, right? Because I want to paint this big picture of where I'm going with this. I found work. So work for me and being in fitness started becoming my thing, right? It started becoming my, this is what I'm going to throw myself into, just like I threw myself into basketball. So I'm going to be the best coach. I'm going to be the best trainer, right? And then when I opened the business, it's like, man, I can apply kind of this, right? I can apply this mentality that I had in basketball towards this. Now, this was really beneficial, right? The discipline, the work ethic, the hustle, hashtag hustle, whatever that means these days. But it was beneficial driving me in those areas, right? I mean, even after my career, I trained like I was training for, like the Olympics or the basketball games, right? And at the same time, I was working these long out, 10, 12, 14, 16-hour days, like legitimately like working plus training 2 to 3 a day. And now it gave me this purpose and it gave me this trajectory. But what it ended up doing is also like burning me out, obviously having injuries, physical issues. But it would also happen is because I was so narrow-sighted, it also, I would say, damaged and hurt my relationships. I didn't, I would say, nurture certain relationships the way that I should have, or and I didn't focus even on my own self-development. When we talk about, like connecting to self and mind, like all these different things that are matter, right? Health is physical, it's mental, and it's emotional. So, here I was going like, okay, now I got this purpose that I can like drive towards, but that ended burning me out and burning a lot of other things down to the ground. And so as, about 2 years ago, I joined, Wake Up Warrior program, where there's 4 fundamental areas of life that we work on, right? And one is body, right? It's your fitness, it's your nutrition. Then there's being, which is your connection to self or to God or the universe, Buddha. Whatever it is that, like I said, that you believe in. And then there's balance, which is your relationships, like kids, significant other, friends. And then there's your business, right? And essentially what it is, like, man, these are these crucial 4 areas of life that you have to pay attention to and develop, because if any one of them, like, you just push one side, we call this being the 1 or 2 dimensional douchebag, like you're rated, which I raised my hand, I was there. You push a couple areas of life, but then everything else just like gets destroyed or messed up, and it pulls down the things that were going good anyways, right? There has to be this balance of where you're pushing all 4 areas of life. And the thing is, like, over time, right? Because at first, you get the concept, but you don't really like get it, right? You don't get it. And, last week I really like started going like, man, the idea of being an athlete, that's always been like a big identity thing for me, like from basketball to even afterwards. And I think that can become detrimental, right? When you have this identity attached to what you do. So what you do becomes your identity. I don't think that's a good thing. But the idea of being an athlete, like it's part of who you are, has always been something that's kind of like been my belief, and I'm driven, right? But once you stop officially being an athlete, right, what that means is like, hey, you're not playing pro, or you're not getting paid for that. There can be some issues with that. And that's why I was saying you can kind of be lost. And through Warrior and through some, actually Jesse Yule was having this speech up at our event, and it clicked for me, and I started writing out, and I was like, man, like, what about when you take sport as your life, right? Really, you become an athlete of life. And this was like this big aha moment for me. And what I mean by that is that, these core 4 areas of our life, right? Body, being, balance, business, which have these daily, essentially, rituals. Like there's these daily rituals that we follow. It's like practice, right? The rituals are practice. Like these rituals are practice to train for weekly goals and challenges. But instead of it being a weekly basketball game, right? Or later on where it's like, hey, weekly training sessions to hit monthly performance goals and, number goals. Now it started becoming life. And life is more than 2 areas. It's 4 areas, right? And I would even go further. I talked about this in a second about some other areas. But like, when I started going like, man, but like every day I'm practicing to be the best at life. And, and Garrett said, you know what, like, man, we do life better than anybody else. Like, that's what we do at Warrior. And I was like, man, this is really, really clicking for me, because, all those 4 areas is what make life great, right? When you have deep connection to self, when you have capacity and your body's feeling great, and you're powerful, whatever powerful may mean to you, right? I mean, like, but like, man, you feel great and confident about how you look, how you feel, how you perform. You have energy, you have confidence, you have capacity, right? Because the more capacity that you have in your body, like the more things that you can do, the harder you can work, the more energetic you can be for longer periods of time, the better you think, so on and so forth. So I started going like, wow, like, and then there's connection. Like the more connected I'm to myself and my purpose, man, the more fulfilled I am because I'm following the things that I believe in and my values, my virtues, right? The better relationships that I have. And like I said, a lot of life for me, I think, is about relationships and experiences. So the better my relationships are with my team, with my family, with my clients, with my friends, with my, you know what I mean? Like the life becomes better. I'm more engaged with them. I'm more present with them. I'm more connected to them. And of course, business, like it all connects because guess what? Now I got my purpose. I push business. I have this North Star that's guiding me that is more than just money, but obviously the money creates freedom. It creates resources to contribute more. It creates resources to take care of my family, create more experiences for the people that I love. Now you can start seeing how all these things intertwine and connect. But I started going like, well, but like every day when I wake up, now I'm practicing daily to be the best athlete I can be in life. And so weekly, there's goal setting, right? In business, we call it key four. There's just these goals that we want to achieve. But there's also, things that you shoot for. I do this thing at the end of the week where I write down my wins, right? So I remind myself of cool shit that I did throughout the week. And like I said, it could be completely like, hey, I met with a friend I didn't see in a long time, great conversation. I did this hike that I never did before. Like whatever it may be, right? I write down these wins to remind myself and appreciate and I'm grateful for the stuff that I achieved, right? So I'm not always pushing forward into the horizon. But then monthly, we have benchmarks to hit our 90-day goals, 90-day challenges. So we always set 90-day challenges. And so essentially the 90-day challenges are our mini championships, right? They're kind of like, think about this, it's like you win the region, right? Every 90 days you're playing this regional, and at the end of the year, man, you look back and it's like, you had a championship game. But having this perspective really shifted things for me because it gave me this feeling of like, man, like life is a sport, right? Like, I mean, and Jesse coined this one in Warriors, like Warrior is my sport, right? But that's how I look at it, man. If life becomes a game and becomes a sport, then we're the athlete of life. And if we're the athlete of life, it never ends, right? It's like no matter what you achieve, you're always playing the game. You get injured. If this happens, it happens. It doesn't matter. It never ends, right? For me in basketball and all these other areas, it was like, oh, well, what happens after? What happens when this happens? You get injured, you're done, right? And you kind of feel lost. But when I started like looking at it as like I'm playing the game of life, right? And it's like every day I don't show up for practice, I'm not getting better, right? Every day that I don't, the thing is, if I don't win the game, I have another opportunity next week. Like it never ends. And there's this intrinsic motivation to become, just like I wanted to be the best athlete in basketball, now I want to be the best athlete of life, right? And I don't know about you, like for me, like how I shift my perspective can like really change the things that I do, how I feel about them, and give me a new motivation. And that's like this last week, because I wrote this whole, thing in my journal about it. And I started getting excited about it, like thinking about what that really means. Right now, I'd have you consider something. Now, I named out these 4 areas of life, but there's no rules, right? There's no rules because the game of life is custom. It's custom to you, right? It's custom to you. And I definitely believe that those 4 areas are ones that everybody, wants to improve on. But then there's other things that you could add or take away or whatever it may be, right? And for me, one of them is, fun and adventure, right? So like every time you play is, it's like you have fun and you're adventurous. Guess what? You get lost. It's great for, it helps you with creativity and innovation. It taps back into those memories of when you were a kid, and you really are present and you're happier in those moments. So, where in Body Being Balanced in Business, you have these different things that we do. Like there's training and there's nutrition and there's meditation and there's positive focus, and there's, you know, a power focus, and in business there's learning and teaching, and there's all these tools, right? And the thing is, like, you can completely customize that to yourself, like the rituals that you do on a daily basis that will create power in your life, that will create, you know, happiness in your life, that will create like those practices that will lead you to where you want to go. And where you want to go is like, hey, I want to be, you know, I want to have better relationships. I want to be more connected. I want to, you know, I want to have more purpose and find out what it is. I want to be healthier and move better and get rid of these nagging injuries. And I want to have a career that I love and I'm fulfilled by and make more money and have more freedom and so on and so forth. I mean, I can keep going, but like I said, it's custom because it's your life, right? You create these, I would say, guardrails to guide you to where you want to go. But I'd have you consider that like every single day, you know, you get up, you are playing this game, no matter how you look at it, right? But if you create the rituals, those are practices to have you win the week. And actually, I'd have you win the day, have you own your day and win it, right? And then that builds on the week and builds on the month, builds on these 90-day challenges that are your mini championships. And when you look at it like that, right, you have a trajectory. So you have this trajectory, which is, you know, it's like when you have a target, right? Targets make you focus because you know where to aim. And at the same time, you can always look back and go like, hey, I achieved this. So you don't get lost in this never-ending cycle of searching for the horizon. But really think about, you know, life being a sport and you're the athlete of life. And like I said, this has helped me out tremendously in rather than just having like this concept. Like I said, there's essentially groundwork and frameworks to live a better life. And I'd have you, you know, once again, like I don't like pitching anything like that. But, you know, for me, like Wake Up Warrior, you can look it up, wakeupwarrior.com. Pretty sure that's the site. Has been, you know, huge in influencing me and changing my life. But you should definitely check it out. And like I said, if you want to talk more about this, definitely reach out. But that perspective, whether you've been a former athlete at any type of level or higher level, but just for anyone, because the thing is, if you start looking at it like that, I've yet to meet a person that, you know, doesn't like to play a game. Now the thing is, what game they like to play, that's personal, but that's why you can customize it, right? You can customize the game that you play. That is your game of life. And on this, and on the other hand, yeah, I'm going to bring it to this because right about now, I'm probably going, at least on the business end, I'm going through the most challenging, I would say, times in my life because this project of and you may have seen this going on, you know, buying this big commercial building in Renton and, you know, working on getting construction done and city permits and grants. And I mean, it's like humongous project that is, as with any, you know, construction and commercial project, you know, taking longer, more money, you know, recommitting and so on and so forth. I'll bring it back to this because there's days that I get pissed off and I say, well, it shouldn't be like this, where I've already gone through so much stuff and, you know, more stuff shouldn't be happening, right? And that word should kind of creates a trap because it makes you believe that like there's some, you know, something shouldn't be the way it is. So guess what? There's stress and anxiety around it. Where the reality is that's what it is. And to bring it back to the game, guess what? Would you play a game if there was no levels? Would you play a game if there was no bosses, right? If you're playing Super Mario Brothers or something like that, if there was no bosses and levels, like you wouldn't play that game. That game would be shit. That game wouldn't like be zero fun, right? But in life, sometimes we act like we don't want the bosses. We don't want the levels. We don't want the hardships, but it's what makes it, not, I'm going to say fun, but it's what makes it worthwhile, right? So I keep reminding myself that, you know, this game, now we talked about being an athlete of life and looking at life as a sport and your own custom game. Also having this perspective that, you know, the bigger the challenge is, it just means it's a bigger boss. Like it's a bigger boss in the game. And though it may piss you off, at the end of the day, it also fires you up to compete, like to overcome it. And when you overcome it, you have this deep fulfillment, right? And then you can look back and like, oh, look at what I did. And then you move forward and guess what? There's another boss and it's a harder boss. And so, with that said, those two perspectives can kind of make you go like, man, can I start setting up my life to where I'm creating a daily practice to play this game and to win this game? And the thing is, to win this game, you gotta know what a win is for you. And, maybe I should have started with that, but the reality is I wanted to talk about like my revelation in all of this and then bring it back to the fact that like, how do you know you won if you don't determine what a win is for you in anything, right? So in anything, what is a win for you in your body? What are the markers, right? Like, how do you look? How do you feel? How do you perform? Like, what are the performance based? Like, whatever it may be, right? What is a win in your being, right? What is a win in your relationships? What is a win in your business? You got to know the win. Because if you, and consistently, because once you win, guess what? You got to set what the new win is, right? And without that, the game sucks because it's like, you don't really know where you're going. Like there's no trajectory, there's no target, there's no nothing. And to be able to tell the truth about it, right? Because there's a lot of surface level shit that like people will go like, oh man, the win for me is to, lose 20 pounds. And it's like, is it like, what is the true win? Like, what's the deep win? Like, why are you doing this? Right? And so you got to know your win and tell the truth about your win, like, and not hold back, right? And scratch all the layers off of that. And then understand that there's going to be bosses and going to be levels. And then when you beat the levels, a new level, there's a new devil. It never ends. But when you take that as the game of life and you being an athlete of life, it changes everything. So we always end kind of on this note, right? We always end on this note where like look at your life and start determining what are the daily practices in your life that you can play to help you win the day, help you win the week, help you win your 30-day benchmarks and 90-day challenges to get you to your win, whatever that is in your areas of life. Right? Literally write it out. Like don't, I always say, hey, it's like if you got something going on in here and you got aha moments, write them down, take action, right? It's like at the time you make a decision, you got to take a course of action. So if there's something that you feel right now that you're compelled to do it right now. Because if you don't, like whether it's writing it down, whether it's, scheduling something or hiring a coach or, planning a trip for your family, whatever it is that you get out of it, take the first step towards it, right? Make that decision with a first action step. Because otherwise it becomes something cool. Like I was listening to this podcast and make some good points and then you don't do anything. And guess what? You're not moving forward. Right? So take action on that. And remember, we're always getting in questions. Any questions you got for our lightning Q&A rounds that we do, you can shoot them over to Luka, Luka, at Hocevar, Hocevar performance.com. So Luka at Hocevar performance.com. And you can also write in a review on iTunes. If you love this podcast, I always love those. And we'll be sending out some goodie bags randomly. We'll let you know about those. But otherwise, catch us on YouTube, catch us on iTunes, and you will see me next time on the Vigor Life Podcast. Peace out. Appreciate you.